Hi, my name is Pat Schmidt, and I am your instructor for Building Botanical Design. And I'm so happy that you signed up for the class because I get to share my addiction to botanical design. The reason why I offer this class is I think that it offers my students kind of a new way of looking at botanical material and investigating other color opportunities that you might not be able to with strictly adhering to the scientific aspects of botanicals. The structure of the class, we meet for 3 Saturdays in November, the 7th, the 14th, and the 21st, from 9:30 to noon. We'll begin each class with sharing what we're working on, questions or problems that you're having, and any ideas that you might have for other people after they share. I think the discussion really helps to broaden our ideas and kind of pushes us forward a little bit. I will be doing demonstrations and sharing things that I think are helpful as you're working on your designs. And then we'll have work time. You don't have to do work outside of our class time, but I'm thinking that you may want to, just so that you can have plenty of time for experimenting and cutting and pasting and making final decisions about your finished project. At the very end of our course, on the last class, we'll have a critique at the very end. And again, I think this is really valuable to talk about things that you wish you had done differently, things that you're planning to do with the work that you've already done. So I think that's a real valuable end to our class. Materials. You will need to select some botanical subject matter. I mean, this could be from your garden. It could be a combination of things from your garden and photographs that you've taken, perhaps from different views. I prefer that you use your own photos, though, if you're going to be using them. I'm a little bit of a purist that way. I think that makes your work 100% yours, and I think it's optimal. You will need a beginning structure, and we can talk more about that in a minute. I will be sending you some materials, and some structures will be one of those things. Tracing paper, this is what I recommend. I love this stuff. The reason why I like it is because it's sturdier than regular tracing paper. I believe you can see through it a little bit better. It is really strong and holds up to all sorts of punishment like taping and moving around. You can also put it in your drawer, and it ages well so that you can use that for future projects. It has good longevity. If you're planning to use color pencils, that's great. This is the paper that I recommend for that. It's smooth, Bristol board, but it has a nice tooth that will accept your color pencils really well. And of course, you can also combine ink with that. It's a really good all-around paper for work. If you'd like to watercolor, you've probably already got watercolor paper. I recommend the Fabriano Artistico. And I believe right now we're using the 150 pound. Several mechanical pencils. If you have one of those thicker lead pencils that you move forward and you have a pointer that you can get a really nice point, that's fine. I like mechanical pencils because you don't have to stop and sharpen all the time. They're really consistent and offers a consistent line. I recommend a stick eraser, one of those erasers that comes in like a pen that you can forward the actual eraser, and it allows you to get in and get little detailed areas without messing up the rest of your drawing. Graph paper is super helpful. I use it because it helps me to keep centered and even, especially if you're going to take pieces of a design and duplicate it. I made the mistake of not doing that with my original design, and I just want to show you that. That's not the book. This is the book. I just want to show you that while this was just a doodle, it was a sketch, I didn't use graph paper, and one of the sides is longer than the other, and I ended up having to do a lot of adjusting. And so I really recommend graph paper. I also have this little book, and it has little, I don't know if you can see them, but it has little dots that also can help keep you in line as far as creating your design. Graph paper, you can obtain that for free on a site called printfreegraphpaper.com. And you'll want the little squares, which happens to be the default pattern. And I just really like graph paper. If you can fly without it, more power to you, but I think it'll help. So that's all I have for the materials. And I will talk about the structure in just a moment. There are many different ways to build a botanical design, but how we're going to do it is by starting with a structure that is not botanical material. For example, while visiting a museum, I saw beautiful fan paintings, and the shape of the fan was really interesting to me. So that is the shape that I started with for my design. I sketched that design and I played around with it, and I continued it around to make a half circle and worked with that. So I will be emailing you several different structures from which you can choose what you plan to use for beginning. And if you have questions about that, you can certainly email me back. And really, I've reached my limit on my intro video, so I will inundate you next time with all sorts of beautiful images and ideas for you. And before we go, I just want to tell you what my goal of the class is. My goal is for you to make a botanical design by first using a structure onto which you will build a botanical design. It will in itself be standalone. It'll be a frameable work, but it could be repeated over and over, either side by side as a frieze design or a border design, or can repeat in all directions. And unlike a static wallpaper type design with just repeating the same designs over and over, you will be varying your sizes of the elements of your design. So there will be areas of interest and focus. And it will have color, and it will include a background, a foreground, and a middle ground. So with that in mind, stay with me. I'm going to have tons of fun stuff to look at next time. So thank you for listening, and I look forward to our class together.